Hey everyone, and welcome. My name's Aaron, and today we're doing a demo of the Wampler Tumnus. I'm playing my Gretsch 6117 with TV Jones pickups into my Jackson Newcastle 18, and my clean tone sounds like this. All right, the Wampler Tumnus. This is an overdrive slash boost type of pedal, reminiscent of the KLON Centaur, which, if you've never played one, it's that mid-rangey punchy thing. Definitely a little character to it. Typically used sort of how I was using it. I might even be on the aggressive end of like how it's normally used, which is just as a little boost. Yeah, just a really lovely, aggressive, but also very pleasing, not piercing, kind of mid-range in there that it just accentuates really nicely. You got to play around with the combination of the level and the gain in order to kind of get it in that sweet spot. And also the treble control, oddly enough, sort of has an effect on the output and the gain and the way it overdrives. So this is kind of how I like having it, which is level at 9 o'clock. No, sorry, gain at 9 o'clock. Level at about 10 or 11 o'clock, and the treble at about 1 o'clock. That's sort of how I set it, and how I use it is for just little boosts. It's my last overdrive in my group of 4 overdrives. And so sometimes I will stack it. The only time I ever stack an overdrive is if I'm using this. And that'll go after. So if I have a broadcast or light speed or whatever before, and then this will be the last stage. And I do that because I like the way that sounds. It kind of retains the nice mid-range characteristic. Another reason people really like the way these push the mid-range is just how they stick out in a mix. It might not be actually the most impressive pedal just to listen to, just sat down without a band or whatever, although I've been loving the way it's sounding, just even by itself. But there's definitely pedals that have a lot more low end and are a lot more sort of impressive on their own. But this one, I end up using, I probably use it actually more than any other overdrive, because it's just so useful, that EQ, that poking out sort of EQ. And if you've played in a live band context before, you know that a lot of times, no matter how much like gain or level you add to the thing, you're just like, I can't hear my guitar, through the mix or whatever. And so this is really good for something like that. From what I've heard, this has a little more low end than your average KLON, so I like that because the KLON sort of cuts the low end a little bit, which a reason to not have the low end in there is because you're pushing, whatever you're pushing into your amp is going to then respond to, that signal. So if you have a lot of low end going into your amp's going to overdrive and distort in a different way than if it didn't. And a lot of times people like the bass cut on a normal KLON because it allows you to kind of have more drive and more level going into your amp without your amp sort of farting out in the lower frequencies. If you have pushed a really low frequency boosted pedal into an amp before, you've heard it kind of like the speaker goes crazy and it kind of can't handle it. And so this it's like a really smart overdrive pedal. And it's great for, like I said, stacking. It's great for just a little boost on your signal. If you're just playing chords, which is what I do most of the time. yeah, you can see why a lot of people have this as an always-on type of pedal. Maybe not this, but they have the KLON as sort of, it's like part of their sound. So it's the guitar goes into that KLON thing. It sort of acts like a compressor. I don't have my beloved Cali 76 compressor on right now, but this kind of does the job of that, where it sort of brings up the softer sounds a little bit and compresses and brings down when you hit it harder, and it just kind of overdrives in a really pleasing sort of way, which a lot of people will use this sort of as just part of their sound, as a tone shaper, and then just keep it always on in a subtle or even more subtle kind of setting like I have going. But this thing I love. The more I use it, the more I love it. I find that the controls are really sensitive to, it's like, if it's right here, it's different than if it's right like there, and then if it's right there. So if you get one, definitely play around with these settings and do just small little adjustments and see what you like. But highly recommended. Love this thing. That's it for me today. See you guys next time.